number one reason why Andrew Zimmern was late, and he's here with us right now, is
bad hot dogs.
There it is.
I was right.
My buddy's back. My buddy's back. How you been, man?
Well, other than the fact that, I mean, I'm not the thinnest dude in the world or the youngest dude in the world.
Okay.
But I was Saquon Barkley coming down from 52nd to 49th Street.
Yeah.
I made it. I mean, I wish that's NFL Combine numbers.
Really? That's how fast you were going?
Well, you know me, when I get going downhill,
Yeah.
and it just starts. Once I've popped in past the linebackers, it's over.
It's a wrap, right?
Yeah.
It's open field from there, man. Andrew Zimmern is here, ladies and gentlemen. Big Food Truck Tip, that's premiering tomorrow night at 10 p.m. on the Food Network. You look like you slimmed down.
I'm trying to take a play out of your book.
No.
You look good.
Do I?
I'm kind of making a run at you right now.
Thank you. Hey, let's motivate each other because regardless of how I look, I know what the readout is when I step on the scale.
Yeah, that's true.
So you know,
I avoid them. It's been a busy, hectic, crazy fall, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the new Food Network show tomorrow night at 10, 9 Eastern, or 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 10 Western, is a really fantastic look at making invisible people visible. The Food Network has tried, you know, they're a sister network, and we've always tried to do things, but I don't do stuff unless there's a social justice component to it or some sort of activism component to it. So when I said yes a couple years ago to All-Star Academy, it was because I could mentor young women. And that was really, really important to me. And I made sure to choose the two people to be on my team that were the two youngest contestants and the women with the least experience, because I knew that I wanted to take them to the finals rather than some dude who's been cooking for 10 years, right? So, and, you know, we took second and third place. So I had both of my kids in the finals, which was great. Food Network came to me with a competition show, and I said, well, we can do it if I can tell the stories, and I get to select the trucks, and I get to select the criteria. People go to a food truck to eat, right?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that food trucks are the number one way that young entrepreneurs or old entrepreneurs can get into the business. You know, anything from 10 to 20 grand gets you in the game with a cart. You can even do it with a bicycle towing a refrigerator, the way some people do it in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah.
What the?
So,
I've seen that.
Yeah, so entrepreneurs, the hospitality business is still the number one employer of single moms. It's still the number one employer of people coming out of jails and institutions. It's still a place where, you know, black, brown, yellow people are also sadly less visible, even though they're the ones who've been cooking our food for thousands of years, right? And so the ability to motivate entrepreneurs by showing what's possible on a truck really, really, really appealed to me. And I mean, you know, I take this stuff seriously.
Oh, you take it very seriously.
But it's a fun. It's also a fun, entertaining show. But it's a really cool thing to see a father and a son, and you know, the son is autistic, and he's trying to teach him a trade so that the dad can be at peace when.
If he passes on,
that his son has something to do and knows how to cook. It's amazing to see a struggling young man who is sitting at his great aunt's dinner table and doesn't know knows he wants to own his own business, that his ticket out of hardship for his family is controlling his destiny and not putting it in the hands of someone else. And he persuades his great aunt and her best friend, these are two women in their 70s, to come onto a truck and start cooking the food that they're literally eating at the table right there. And it's the hottest food truck in the city that I went to, and I'm just blown away by it. Granny's Fish and Grits.
Granny's Fish and Grits. Damn, that sound good right there.
Dude, when you see the level of food, I'm telling you right now, these ladies cook a piece of fish better than Eric Repair does at Le Bourdain. It is faultless. I mean, I sat there stunned that this is happening on a truck, and it's so engaging in, you know, with a government that's changing the rules on us all the time. You have to take your life into your own destiny, right? You know what I'm saying. You got to take matters into your own hands, and I mean that in the safest, most respectful, within our system way. You know, entrepreneurship will save us when so many other things can't. And so to be able to promote something that is an easy access for folks to get in and do it, especially 2s and 3s and 4s.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, it's really funny, this whole thing about towing the refrigerator. People with the traffic and the hills and all the rest of that,
are crazy.
They put these little carts, either hot holding or cold holding, and they just jack it up, put some wheels on it, and so someone can make 100 tamales in their apartment and then take them out to the park and sell them for $5 a piece, right?
Yeah.
And you come home with $200 and maybe you spend $30 on all the ingredients and there's your $170 profit. And if you do this every day, you know, that's your 5 days a week. Do the math. That's $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
Now, there are people who are doing this as second jobs, right? Who are working during the day and then going somewhere at night, outside the stadium, outside the concert, all this kind of stuff. It's incredible to see. Now, is anyone, because you're all in New York.
Yeah, but we're thinking about getting into business too, man. That's why we're glad you're here.
What are you going to do?
Well, we were thinking about doing something. Heather, you want to pick it up from here? Heather and I got an idea.
What do you got?
I'm the business mind. She's the creative.
You swear you said we can't say the name.
We
on
can't say
air.
the name. We're not going to say the name.
That's the
Don't
idea.
say the name.
Yeah, the idea. It's in the comfort food area, Andrew.
Yes?
Yeah, it won't miss. I promise, it won't miss.
Well,
Unbelievable.
Well, if you guys are behind it, it's not going to miss because your track record the last couple of years has been
speaks for itself.
speaks
right?
for itself.
Yeah,
You've been watching
we
it,
got
too.
a can't miss food truck idea.
Actually, technically, I've been listening to it.
You've been listening to it.
Technically,
Okay,
I've
you've
been
been listening to it.
But here's the interesting thing, and New Yorkers.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah?
We want you to be a part of it.
Yeah, no problem. Done. I mean, I've owned food trucks. I got the whole thing.
Oh, shit.
I got a truck for you, waiting. We skin it however you want.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Say word.
What?
Yes, just say word. Just say the word.
Word.
Okay, it's done. It's sealed right there, baby. It's sealed right there. Partnership. We dead ass serious,
No,
too.
it's
No, I'm
serious.
dead.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
I mean, let's not.
Let's talk about it later.
We have a whole hospitality company. We've got what you need to
Put it there.
actually put it out there for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's the fascinating thing. There was a guy named David Shin, Chinese gentleman, came over here, no money, working as a busboy in a Chinese restaurant. He, on days he wasn't working, he'd make noodles, sometimes just 10, 20 portions, and he'd put them in the cooler, right, with jars of boiling water, or boiled water in there to keep it like warm. And he'd sell it on the corner of the street in Flushing, Queens, across from the big mall. And eventually it went from 10 portions to 20 portions to 40 portions. Then it went to 40 portions twice a day. And then he got enough money to rent a little space down in the bottom of a teeny little food court in the basement of a not so great building with no signage, and opened up his shop called Xi'an Famous Noodles. Now the place started to take off. His son went to Columbia and Columbia Business School, graduated, took over the family business. Now they have, I think, 7 Xi'an Famous around New York. They have a restaurant called Biang, and I think they're going into either Thomas Keller's or Jose Andres's big food hall over on the West Side Highway. And I've profiled them twice in our shows, and it's that kind of spirit.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I love about my country, that hopefully we will take back in a couple months, is that ability for anyone to harness the American dream like that, and they can do it through food. Food entrepreneurship, I believe, is we start growing the right kind of stuff in Haiti and help Haitian farmers.
Yeah.
We don't have to keep dumping money into that. We have to accelerate businesses around the world. I mean, when I did the Electrify Africa campaign, it wasn't, people need to have infrastructure, and some countries over there couldn't afford an electrical grid. And so we keep giving vaccines and food and all the rest of this, and they're like, we have no place to put it. It's like Jose Andres says, you go into a humanitarian crisis and you drop bags of rice. How do you cook it when
How
there's
do you
no
cook the
generators
rice?
or
Yeah.
water?
Exactly.
You have to make food for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not a hand out. That's a hand up. So if you can go in there and, teach a man to fish, as someone much more famous than I said a long time ago.
Jesus? No, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Let me tell you something. Jesus was like me. He was a nice Jewish kid from the block.
Jesus from the block. Forget about Jenny.
Came into the store all the time. Never bought anything.
Yeah, but
you know,
yeah.
But that's this is about like food trucks, food entrepreneurship, which food trucks are a part of, easy access. This is a way to solve global problems. They become jobs programs, they become diplomatic outreach, and so this idea of doing a show about food trucks on Food Network, because I'm a Trojan horse guy.
Yeah.
I like to wheel in one thing, and then if it's successful, I want my army to come out the bottom. For me, the beauty of this, and I'm just kidding, the network is fantastic partners on this, but in landing and expanding, let's make a hit, let's get some eyeballs, and then let's start expanding the idea of what mobile food is and what it means to people in communities.
Okay, Andrew Zimmern is here, man. I love this guy. How is this show different from the Great Food Truck Race? How would you separate the two?
Well, I've not seen.
Okay, you didn't want to have to admit that, huh? Okay.
But I would not lie to you because we're friends outside of here.
Okay, absolutely.
I would not lie to my
Absolutely.
friend.
That's
a good person to go into business with.
Now I will tell you, Tyler Florence is great.
Yes.
There it is a race competition show with food cook-offs inside of it, challenges.
Okay.
Right? So that's in what I call the game category, and the network would put it in the game category. Mine is not in the game category. And when they came to me, I said, I would love to do this show, but that's not my I tell stories about culture through food and travel around the world and do stuff with big ideas. That's also entertainment, right? Because I believe some people come home and just put their feet up and want to relax and see a fun show, right? And I want to be there for them too. So I said, as long as I can develop the criteria, and obviously food is the number one reason we go, so the food quality's got to be there.
Right.
But the other thing that's really important is what's their story? What are they going to do with the money?
Yeah.
How are they going to deal with it in the community? I'm not giving $10,000 to a schmuck just because his egg rolls were better than some other lady's pizza. I mean, I'm not throwing the money away, and I think I have the ability to look someone in the eye and say, tell me your story. What kind of person are you? And let's take it from there. And it's incredible over the course of the season to see the collective group of people that we've rewarded. Now, I will also tell you, I don't think it's fair to judge an apple from an orange to a pear.
Okay.
So if we're in Huntington Beach and there's a Spanish tapas truck and there's a Chinese dumpling truck and there's a Mexican taco truck, there's only so much overlap there. So I wanted to make sure that we also gave a second and third prize. And I think we're the first show of our type that everyone wins something.
Everyone wins.
Now, I'm also the dad that wants dodgeball. I believe you can throw the ball at anyone. Head is in, just like when I was a kid. I mean, I don't believe everyone should get a ribbon. However, in this case, I think what we're trying to do on TV is make a bigger statement. And I think because we spend so many weeks scouting and we pare down 200 trucks in a city to 3, that those 3 should all be rewarded somehow. So we give a second and third prize as well.
Andrew Zimmern is here, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the Big Food Truck Tip premiering tomorrow at 10 p.m. on the Food Network. We got Amp on the line from Florida. Go ahead, Amp.
What up, Amp?
Amp.
Hey, what's going on, you guys, man? I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you.
Get straight to the point. What's a ballpark figure on a used food truck? Because I want to start up a food truck, but I don't really kind of know.
Great question.
How much to spend on one.
Great question. What region of the country are you in?
I'm in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, great. Okay. The reason that I say that is that you can have a 12-month season down there, unlike where I live in Minnesota, where it gets a little snowy and people don't like to stand outside in the line when it's 5 below zero.
This is true. I've been in that line.
So the answer is really simple. Something that's towable, in other words, a a shed that you build and put equipment in and build it to code can be done for as little as $15,000. Now, that's not an insignificant amount of money. The big cost there is building to code and the equipment that goes along with it. But what a lot of people have done, we saw some incredible entrepreneurs. One guy built 2 trucks and sold them and took the profit and was able to build a third one for himself. We saw other people that did Kickstarters and stuff online because they had a great food idea. We had other people who, literally spent 3 years building something in their garage, slowly but surely, finding the right used equipment. If you're really cash strapped, the best thing that you can do is start with something smaller. I don't know what the zoning issues are in your town, but go down to City Hall and find out what the zoning issues are for vending mobile food, because it could be as simple as using the San Francisco model where you tow something on a bike or a moped that, is 40, 50, 80, 100 portions of something in a, whether it's ice cream in a freezer or portions of soup that come out of a hot holding box that you have on the back of your bike or moped, and you can leverage that up into truck as you go. So the price can be very low. Some people spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 outfitting trucks because stoves are $5,000, $6,000, and that starts to get really pricey. But used equipment and trucks are going out of business all the time in Florida. So you are in a fantastic market to look for used equipment as well.
Hey, Amp, I hope that serves a purpose. Make sure you follow Andrew, too, on social media. Give out your social if you don't mind, Andrew.
Am I on social media?
Yeah, Andrew Zimmern.
I'm at Andrew Zimmern.
And then Chef AZ.
On Instagram.
Yeah. So
at Andrew Zimmern on Twitter.
Hit him up directly.
That's a good account. A couple times a year there's a picture of you on there.
Yeah, every now and then. We get on
Every now and then.
I make it, I make it. I'm a mainstay on his page.
That's right.
Yeah. I'll be remiss if I didn't ask you about. We lost a really beautiful, spirited man, Anthony Bourdain. I don't know if I've spoken to you since he passed. But what can you share with us about him, if you don't mind?
It's really hard. I couldn't watch the Emmys last night. I wanted to because I had other friends, on Bravo, the Top Chef folks. A lot of my friends were up for awards and stuff like that. But I knew that they were going to dim the lights, and I knew that there was going to be an in memoriam picture. And he swept a lot of awards and finally personally won the writing award posthumously for one of his episodes at the other Emmy Awards held 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It's still really hard because it was a huge surprise to me. I had spoken to him a lot recently, and maybe I should have been more aware that someone who was normally fairly bellicose and recalcitrant to share feelings was so open about how happy he was, almost to a point where you were like, dude, you're like doing a 180. Like, is everything all right? He was symphonic. He was the most charismatic person I knew. He was a fantastic writer. You could talk to him about 1970s West Coast skateboard punk as readily as you could talk to him about 1950s second wave of French auteur cinema. He loved nothing more than being with people that he liked. He was incredibly supportive of other people. You talk about hand up, not hand out. He started a book imprint just so that he could bring authors who might otherwise never get a book deal out into the mainstream. He was extremely generous with his money, maybe to a fault. And I think the biggest thing that I'm still coping with, well, two things I'm coping with. Number one is that someone who I was close to was in that much pain. Is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I hope that he's at peace right now. And then the other part of it, and I'm sure everyone in this room can relate to it in one degree or another, is, and I didn't like the way it came out in the press. When the time is right, I'm going to take some of these bastards down. But they came out with this whole explanation about the imposter syndrome as if it was some kind of disease that, you willingly, inject yourself with to try to be sick. You can remember back when it wasn't this easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
When, I was not me 14 years ago. I had to hold down 3 jobs just to feed my family. It was not always, none of us get born in third base and think we hit a triple. It is really hard when people are screaming at you from buses, I love you, you're the greatest. And you go home at night and you worry that you couldn't call back 3 friends and you didn't speak to your kid and you're in a lonely hotel room and, you get into that stinking thinking in your brain.
Yeah.
And that's a horrible, horrible place to be, to have that thought go, oh, God, if you only knew, because my significant other is yelling at me, my kid's pissed off, my partners, I missed that meeting. Whatever it is, right? So our internal monologue is always different than the monologue that comes at us from other people. And if those things have a tremendous dissonance, it becomes really problematic for people. And I think that, mental health issues in this country, I've been a mental health parity advocate in Washington for years and years and years. Senator Paul Wellstone and Congressman Jim Ramstad 20 years ago got me energized and working on that. And I think it's vitally important because it's not just the restaurant community. I hate it when they say there's this toxic masculinity problem in the restaurant industry. Yes, there is, and in a lot of restaurants, and it's wrong. However, we have to start thinking about all people in this country because it's happening. There are people right here on this floor where there's 1,000 people in 20 different booths and employees and marketing, all the rest of that. And I'm telling you right now, 32% of them are alcoholics, 19% of them have an eating disorder, 42% of them need to see a therapist and aren't. 16% of them have been the victims of domestic abuse. Now, I'm not advocating that everyone just start raising their hand and wearing a T-shirt with what their issues are. But if we don't make an environment in this country that's safe for people everywhere to speak their truth a little more, then we're going to have really, really big problems. Because it's not just the Harvey Weinsteins of the world on, over there on that Me Too BS. It's not just people taking their own lives, like Robin Williams and Tony Bourdain and all the rest of that kind of stuff. We have a serious issue in this country, and it's only going to get worse as the anxiety and depression increases because we're increasing the space between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
We're not taking care of our fellow man. Everybody is a human being, and treating people at a very basic level with dignity and respect is something that has to happen. It has to have legal legs to it. If you break your leg walking out this door, you go to the hospital, your insurance company is going to take care of it. If you're having some really bad thoughts and maybe you've acted out of them in little ways, in whatever ism you have, good luck trying to get an hour at a therapist. Good luck getting an appointment or affording it if you're a average American. We've priced that kind of recovery out of the system. That's horrific.
Wow.
So I miss Tony every day, and I love him very much, and I hope that the legacy of all of this is a little more wellness in the world. I just did this article that came out last week in the New York Times, and a lot of my friends called me and said, how can you talk about all that stuff? And how, and the answer is, how can I not
talk about it?
Because I'm not going down that other road. My sobriety from drugs and alcohol is important to me. My emotional sobriety is even more, I've learned in the last 5-7 years, is more important to me. And, as someone who's dealt with trauma and intimacy issues his whole life, and I'm not afraid to talk about it, I went and got the help at 25 years sober that I needed so that I could continue to be effective and loving and warm and the kind of person that I want to be. And I think the more people who are in a position to get out and say, it's okay, asking for help is a sign of strength, not of weakness, then I think we'll lose fewer people and we're able to keep our communities together.
Andrew Zimmern, man, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you.
Sorry I was late.
Oh, you were late? I didn't even know that.
Dude, I was late.
It's all good. You right on time as far as I'm concerned. Andrew Zimmern, make sure you check out Big Food Truck Tip premiere tomorrow night, 10 p.m. on the Food Network. And then be on the lookout for our big idea we're going to come with in 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you thinking about Sway's Rays, where everyone gets a fishing rod and there's a giant aquarium of, cow nose ray, manta ray,
I get
skate, and it's like
stingray.
Yeah, people have done it with trout, where you sort of catch your own.
Yeah,
it's like a giant aquarium.
Yeah. No, that's not the idea. Okay, but thank you
good.
for that.
I was just testing.
Okay, good. That won't be it. It's going to be a Heather and Sway thing here. It's really a Heather thing.
I love that.
Okay.
So now I know the food will be good.
Exactly.
Okay,
All right, Andrew, thank you for coming by. I love you, brother.
I love you guys,
you already
too.
know, man. Okay.